I am here today with another episode of Legend Lore, where we talk about one topic, we dive deep into it, and we just kind of figure out how we can make it better, add more stuff to it, or just in general, just talk about things we like. Today, we're going to be talking about bards, and I brought on a special guest who, his name is Bard, so I mean, yeah. So, hey, Bard, can you introduce yourself again? It's been a little while.
It's been a bit. Yeah, I'm known as Bard. That's just the name I go by. It's because I do music, but I also tell a lot of stories, and so it was dubbed to me by my followers, and I was like, David's a boring name, so I'm going to stick with Bard. And so it's just kind of what I've been with ever since. But yeah, I've been playing D&D for a long time, and I've played a Bard a couple times. It's the only class I tend to play, but play what you love, I guess. But yeah.
Nice. And I think bards are probably the best class. That's just the right opinion. But
well, sure. I mean, I see the value in every single class, but I mean, ultimately, who's the one telling the story? So
yeah,
ends up being the best because he says he's the best.
Exactly. Well, I mean, whoever lives to tell the tale is who makes the history. So. But I guess my first question for you, Bard, is what is a bard? Not D&D, not the role playing, but what in your opinion, what is a bard?
Well, I guess it comes down to, who is the original? You're talking about, a lot of times people talk about Shakespeare, but the whole point of a bard is a storyteller, and it's in almost every culture. I mean, in Norse there was skalds; they would tell stories. And word of mouth stories before any written word, there's always been people that have told the stories of the heroes that ended up making it into books. Very apocryphal. They make up a lot. But they do, because that's what a good story is. If I told you I went to the supermarket today, you're not going to be super interested. But if I told you on the way I fell into a hole and fought goblins, maybe it didn't happen, but you're going to listen to that more than just my walk down the street.
Yeah, true.
So that's the whole point of bards, is to tell stories, possibly through song or music. Most of the time, rhyming. So it's kind of what bards do. Yeah,
that's awesome. No, it's kind of like that. I think it's kind of an older joke at this point, but it's like, cool story, bro. Next time, tell again, needs dragons or something like that. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to add embellishments. It's why I'm a bard, is because I can't tell a story without adding a few extra details every time.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see why people would see bards as scoundrels and maybe a little mischievous there, but
for sure, and that comes with the deception aspect.
Yeah. Well, so how do you see bards? Because I know we've talked about it a little bit. Let's kind of go into the role-playing aspect now. As a role player, as a DM,
so
how do you see bards?
I see them as essential. If any of your players aspire to be like a hero, they've heard it from a bard, guaranteed. It's sure there's storytellers around town, but when you go to a tavern, it's a bard. When you are on the streets, hearing so and so talk about something, that story normally came from a bard. So bards run the world because they're the ones telling all the stories. But nice. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions with how they're meant to be played. I don't think there's a mean that someone has to do. There's no cookie cut role, but I feel like people think they have to play a silly storyteller that, like you said, sleeps around and doesn't have any background, or like you said, it's very mischievous and you don't even know what he's doing. I think that's very, very commonly misplaced with bards.
yeah No, I definitely agree, and you mentioned it, people they like to do that because they have high charisma, which means they can sleep with anybody, persuade anybody to do anything. But high charisma doesn't necessarily mean you're just trying to sleep with everybody, or you're just trying to be a scoundrel. It's it could be you see things about people that others don't normally see, maybe in social cues or different social situations.
Yeah, and it's true. People, like, for instance, when you're when you're, say, for instance, in a party, and there's the person that's the intelligent one, like the wizard or whatever. He doesn't have to do all the thinking for the group, just like the bard doesn't have to do all the talking for the group. In fact, when I'm DMing, which is 99% of the time, which is what I prefer, to be fair, I don't just let the guy who's good at talking talk. I always try to open it up and say, well, what would your character say? Do you think your character would be impulsive and say something? But bards tend to talk the most, and the reason being is because they're good at it. They know how to get their way through something, and they often interrupt, which is one of my problems.
That's okay. That's okay. I think we all have that issue. So do you think bards can be more than just like the face of the party? Do you think because they have jack of all trades, they've been to college, I guess, do you think they're more than just the face of the party?
So this may be a little homebrewy, but the colleges, in my opinion, are, I don't know, I don't see them as being always a place of learning. One of my favorite stories I've ever done was when my bard, the one I played, because I was like, finally I get to show them how a bard is. And I played a changeling who basically was a blade dancer. He didn't sing. He rhymed and told stories while he like pretended these great feats and would do like juggling tricks. But he would use his abilities to get into places where he could then assassinate his targets, because he worked for a crime organization. He acted funny because that's what people do, but he was a stone cold killer, and that was the whole point of him, is that he was this joke. But I don't know, if you tell your DM and you tell your people, this is what I actually am, but play it different, I think it could be an interesting point that you don't always have to follow the school. I went to school to do this, it could be a hard school of the streets,
No, I definitely agree. I think college, the term college is kind of weird, because like you said, it could be school of the streets, or it could be maybe they were homeschooled or whatever, but I think
maybe their dad was a bard.
Well, most of I mean, if we're going off the memes, many people in the fantasy worlds have bards as fathers.
At least at one person.
But I think college could be a very interesting thing. I think it'd be funny if there was like a community college and it was just like a knockoff bard or something.
I just want to see community as just bards.
Oh man. Well, if you okay, for anybody who doesn't know, like the show Community, they do D&D stuff, they do Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but like I could totally see all of those characters being bards, especially Jeff. Like he's a bard.
Oh, classic bard.
Yeah.
Abed's a bard. Troy's a bard in his own right. Yeah, sure. They're just different colleges, man.
Yeah. For sure. No, I love that. But no, I think it would be interesting if somebody or whoever came out with a thing that was like, better explain these things, because I think a lot of people, they take these concepts, whether it be of a college or a wizard school, at face value. I don't think they really dive really into it. One of the first bards I ever played was an informant for this spy organization, and he didn't actually. The only time he ever tried to seduce with someone was because there was no way to get out of it that he could see. And so I was like, because my party was like, come on, man, just do it. And I'm like, fine, I'll do this one time. Like, I'll do the bard thing. But they have so many skills that, I don't think they have to seduce their way out of stuff. I think they're very smart and intelligent and talented individuals.
Yeah, and it's just the same with tropes. If tropes were not there, we wouldn't have a base for everything. And I respect the tropes, just like, and a lot of people say, oh, it's boring to start in a tavern. It's boring to do this. It's boring to have a lawful good paladin who's constantly shaming the rogue. These are things that are commonplace, but they're there for a reason. And I understand the grounding for it, and I respect it, because I understand what storytelling is. You have to have those tropes to a degree, but I think when you sit down to make your bard, if you're planning on doing that, which I would assume some of you would find this video by searching how to become a bard, different alternatives, but if you are one of those people that are like, how do I play it differently? To you, I say, pick a character that you like. It doesn't matter if they're a bard in any aspect. It could be like Geralt of Rivia, or it could be Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders. It could be all these different like kind of hardened people, but have like this way of storytelling. It doesn't have to be. I think that people often misconstrue the whole idea of charisma equals talking a lot. Yeah. In fact, most charismatic people know when to talk, when to tell things, when to say anything. And so if you pick a character that you really like and combine it with the aspect of storytelling and maybe background, maybe make it a little deeper than just a college, make it a real fleshed out person, then put them in a situation. The class doesn't define your character. You define that class with your character's abilities.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I really like what you said about, taking these different characters and kind of forming them into a bard, because I've been working on this kind of not character build, but just kind of concept of this charismatic leader who people would probably assume they're a fighter, but they're actually just like a College of Swords bard who is just really good at fighting and inspiring his men with how he fights. And I think that works, like the College of Whispers, that's a pretty good like rogue bard. College of Lore, it's kind of like a wizard bard. There's so many things that the bard can fit into, and that's one reason why I love the bard, is because that's kind of been who I am. I fit into a lot of different molds. I don't just fit into one thing.
No, it's true. And it's just like when someone starts a profession in the real world, it's like that's not the one you always end up with. And I always think, like you said, with a commander, I did that. I had a fantasy feudal Japan campaign that we just ended after a year's worth of every single week playing. It was awesome. Nice. But there was a commander that everyone assumed was a fighter. Yeah. But he was actually he was a multi-class. He was a bard, College of Swords, and then he had a mastermind thieves like rogue mastermind.
Oh, cool.
And so he was good at commanding his people and also giving them extra bonuses during the attacks. He also helped do bardic inspiration. And my characters were trying to put a pin on it through this whole battle. And it was like a siege, and they were holding the walls. But this guy was just inspiring and helping them do stuff. And like, what was he? And I was like, I explained it. They're like, he was a bard?
That's so
of course
cool.
He was. It's a different form of bard. You can be a commander on a field and be a bard. You don't have to be Jaskier from or Dandelion from The Witcher, which they have their place, and I love them, and they're great for what they are. But that doesn't mean this is you because you picked bard. Square peg, round hole. You can fit anything that you want to because you're so versatile. You're a jack. You have jack of all trades. You can do whatever you want. Don't confine yourself unless that's what you want to do.
Yeah, of course. No,
because there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, no, like you said, and like many people play, I love playing the scoundrel bard that just like talks and does a bunch of like vicious mockeries, and even if it doesn't actually do the damage, the DM or whoever's playing them was like, dang, that was good. And like it'll make them hate you and stuff, and it's fun to do that. But I do like breaking the mold, and I think a lot of people are more interested in breaking the mold because there's a point when memes and the tropes they get tiring, and where you want to try something new. So
and we all love a clever meme. We all do. Your page is full of them. I love your page.
Thank you.
And so like we all thrive off that in the D&D community. Humor is a big part of what we do. You can play a serious campaign. You've seen that meme. It's one of my favorites of like Game of Thrones, where they're all very serious, how we meant to play. And then you show like Monty Python and how it ends up. And it's the same thing with Lord of the Rings. They did it with that too. Yeah. A lot of people use it. But like, it's not going to be serious every time. I was playing that bard who was that serious changeling assassin. I played him like an idiot because that's just me. But I knew deep down my character, and I think it really helps shape how your character is going to act, is when you have that, even in the back, even if it never shows up, if you have this knowledge of this is what my character actually feels, you feel like you can play it so much more interesting. And then when you suddenly make that switch into something and everyone's like, wait, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, it's my plan the whole time. I needed to kill this guy. And you're like, brutally kill a guy in front of everyone. It's like, what just happened?
Yeah. No, I think that I think it was like, crouching idiot, hidden badass. I think that's a really good like idea of a bard is like.
That's great.
Yeah, and I mean that could be for any class, honestly. But I just love the idea of this, like you said, your swords bard and he acted like an idiot, and that gets you in places. That gets people to lower their expectations. Yeah. But then when they actually let you through, that's why prostitutes as assassins works.
Oh yeah,
that's why so many.
That's why they did it. Geishas that would be used to assassinate people in the Edo Japan period. All that kind of stuff. Those things happen.
Yeah,
and so it's good. I like that.
Yeah, I love that idea because it's fun, and and maybe your party knows what you're doing, but sometimes when you just flip that switch and you like you say, just start brutally murdering somebody and with no remorse or whatever, it's a fun time.
Going a little dark, not too dark. My character, and this is when my people found out. I think we were streaming it, but we ended up editing it out because it was a little bit too much. Yeah. Is that when they kind of found out that I was kind of a bad guy? It was interesting because I said, hey, I'll go interrogate the guy. We captured a very important informant, and they're like, there's no way he's going to talk. And I'm like, just give me a few minutes alone with him. And everyone's laughing, like, what are you going to do? Sing him a song? And so I just took a coin in, and I walked in, and he was tied to a chair, and no way he was going to talk. The DM was like, this guy's solid. He won't break. And I tried a couple persuasions. Like, I tried some deception, all very high, but the DC level was super high. This guy was like, no way am I giving up my whole life. This is my organization. I'd never do it. I walk in with the coin, and I put it down on the table in front of him. And I say, have you heard of heat metal? Because I'm going to make you eat this unless you tell me.
Oh, man.
And it was such a intimidation that he broke. And I did. I put on his forehead and I said, imagine now that in your throat. And so it was dark. But it was like, he's a bard, right? You'd never expect a bard to do that. And so my players are watching this. They're like, what are you doing? I'm all silly, and then I go super dark, and and it makes it fun. You can do any class, any character. A paladin doesn't always have to be the annoying guy at the table that's stopping everybody. And not that all paladins are annoying, but it can be burdensome when you do evil things.
Yeah.
But that was an idea I had. I'd seen it a couple times, people like saying what they would do, but it was a wonderful intimidation tactic, and it worked. So.
Dang. I mean, hey, there you go. So towards the end of any of the legend lore so far, one thing I like to do is where we close our eyes and we point to something random in your room that you're in, and then out of that, so I've done like for items and I've done for like a tavern. Today I want to do it for a spell. I want each of us to try and come up with a spell, or at least like the idea of a spell that we could do for the bard class specifically.
No, interesting. So we're kind of homebrewing an idea for a spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't have to go super in depth. Just like a basic idea of like, okay, this would be a cool thing we could build off of in the future.
Sure, I like that idea. I homebrew stuff all the time.
Awesome. So close your eyes, and then just kind of like move your arms around. Try, if you know your room very well,
I don't. This is my wife's desk.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
I hope I don't break anything.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I forgot that these were there. Oh, an hourglass. That's pretty cool. I have this box of D&D rings. So
cool.
I'm gonna because it would be too easy to be like, oh, the ring of wishes, the ring of extra vision. I'm just gonna do rings in general as my theme for this. So, do you want to start?
Okay, so as far as hourglasses go, it's all about time. Specific time increments, because I don't know how long this one's set for.
Yeah.
But let's see, a bard using anything with time. I got it already. So
Okay.
when you are persuading, deceiving, sometimes it's crucial. Sometimes it's like you're in front of a queen that somehow you've upset. Someone told some dirty lies about your party, and you are trying to talk them down instead of being forced into the service. And so I imagine a bard makes a attempt, and it's like it's a high DC, just like I was saying, and then he doesn't do it well. I would have a hourglass that's enchanted, really, really tiny, that gives a couple seconds back.
Oh,
so he gets to try. He gets to try a perception, deception, some kind of free action type thing again. And so it's kind of like an inspiration die, but with an hourglass actual item.
But it goes back like, and I mean, you could make that really powerful. You could have different tiers, like, oh, this takes you back 5 seconds, or up to like a minute, or even like an hour. You know, like that.
And I imagine that the sand itself would disappear because that's a very overpowered weapon.
Oh yeah.
Or use. It's like Prince of Persia, and so I was thinking it would be you'd have to go specifically find that sand, kind of like in Prince of Persia, or it would be you have to get it enchanted again. But it works as long as you have an enchanter to fix it.
Yeah, I mean that could be a whole campaign, is getting this sand that can rewind time. So just like Prince of Persia, awesome. but that's really cool. Okay, so I got those rings. So okay, I just thought of something. So it's not an actual like ring you put on your finger, but it would be like if you had a cord or a rope or something, and you made a ring around it, and you'd place this ring on the ground, and 2 people stepping in it, and or it's just one person, and the bard or whoever it is can't be hurt while they're inside the ring. So the bard can talk and say as much as they want or whatever, and nobody can touch them.
Nice. They'd have to sever the circle somehow.
To
stop it.
Yeah.
Don't want anyone to disenchant, falls into a volcano and just puts it down.
yeah. So that was my idea. I'm actually
cool.
I'm not the best kind of homebrew, but on the spot. But I think it's a fun exercise.
My honest opinion is that everything can be workshopped into a piece of art.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a simple story like an old legend, put some story around it, throw a cape on him, and he's Dracula. I mean, it can sound crazy at first, but if you work it out, it can turn into anything. So I think it's cool. I think it'd be interesting to homebrew that kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, hey, any final thoughts about bards?
No, I think I said all that needs to be said. I mean, you play them how you want to play them. Don't be confined to the typical. In fact, with any of the classes, just have fun with it, and don't don't make everyone's day harder because you have charisma. You know what I mean? Play just like a rogue shouldn't steal everything they see, just like a lawful paladin shouldn't smite every bad person in the town. There should be a level of control between you and your characters, and also the table itself, because it's there as a role-playing game together. So be respectful, I think, and everyone can enjoy a good bard.
There you go. Yeah. No, I think bards, they're my favorite class. I think they have some of the best abilities and skills because they are full spellcaster, but they're also, they can fight, they can be the face of the party. They can do a bit of everything.
They're a bit overpowered, but in different ways. Much like a monk can go like 1,000 turns a second.
Yeah.
A bard can totally ruin a day by secretly making someone's armor start on fire. I mean, from a distance, no one knows who it is.
Heat metal is very scary.
It's my favorite, if you can't tell.
It has a whole new meaning for me now. So yeah, I agree. Oh.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. Try that in intimidation against your players.
Well, I mean, you can do it on weapons. You can do it on jewelry. Like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, someone did it on the Queen's Crown once. It was a drow matron, and it was fantastic watching her squirm.
Oh, jeez. And I think it keeps going until they take it off, right?
Well, it keeps going. Yeah, the enchantment basically is that they burn every single round that it's equipped. So they have to take off the armor. If it's plate, that guy just has to deal with it. I mean, how long does it take to actually put on plate? You know,
I think it's 10 minutes or to take it off or something like that. So.
Yeah, so that guy just burns to death as long as you hold concentration, essentially, or until the spell ends. You know.
Yeah. So. Jeez. Well, guys, don't be careful with your heat metals out there because you might just...
use responsibly.
yeah, heat metal responsibly. Well, hey, Bard, thank you so much for talking to me about bards and just D&D in general. I really appreciate it.
That's my favorite subject, so you're fine anytime, man.
Awesome. Well, you have a great night, and guys, come back to the shop next time, and we'll see you later.